Welcome back to the Sunday Sweet podcast, where high performers share the exact habits and decisions that move the needle. Today, we are diving into all things content because it isn't just about the hacks, the trends, or the algorithms these days. It's about the emotion you bring. Today's guest knows that better than most. Matt has created for some of the world's biggest brands, from Nike to Coca-Cola, as well as being part of the social chain with the infamous Steven Bartlett. He's now building his own company on instinct, storytelling, and leaving people with feeling something. Because in content, if your audience feels nothing, you've already lost. Matt, welcome to the Sunday Suite. How are things?
All good, all good. Busy as ever, but can't complain.
I'm super excited to have you on today because obviously we've known each other for a few years. I was actually speaking to my partner earlier and I was trying to think how we even know each other.
It would have been, I'm pretty sure, back in probably around 2015, at Lusty Glaze. I think you did a performance for some like weird little music night.
Yes, it was music.
I was filming for another Cornish artist, and that was the first time we met.
Is that actually where your career started then, filming in Cornwall?
Well, it started, filming in Cornwall. I mean, it started in theatre, funnily enough, whilst I was at school, working behind the scenes, lighting, sound design. I mean, our school theatre was completely pupil run. Do that as part of our curriculum. And after a couple of years of doing that, I accidentally picked up a camera one day, stood on top of a scaffolding tower. I can't even remember where. It was helping on some dance thing with a local dance school for some crazy cameraman. And I wasn't meant to be filming, but I just held a camera for him to get an extra take on top of some scaffolding in the wind. And it went really well. And I've kind of fell in love with it. And time moved on. I continued working with him, and the rest is history.
I love it. I want to dive deep into obviously who you are, where you're at, how it all started, etc. But I want to start with like just an interesting question that's going to captivate the audience a little bit. And that was behind content. You had said to me that like emotion is at the core of it. It's the real currency behind why you should put something out there. So just share with us now, like, what does that even mean?
So my whole professional career around content and production, I'm gonna work on the premise that I didn't do any work before I turned 18, although I very much did, and I'd started my career long before that. But my first actual place of work was Social Chain with Steve Bartlett. And there we were creating social content day in, day out, multiple videos a day per page that we owned. And it very much became apparent through speaking to everyone in the team and just through trial and error, really, that the best way to do anything, especially on socials, and I know it kind of, there are other art forms, but I mean, even if you look at film, music, any form of creative work, if you are just creating something that kind of falls by the wayside and doesn't drive emotion, positive or negative, no one really cares. And it's very, very much the same with content. And there's a piece that is really the prime example of this that we did. We made a pineapple pizza. So I worked on a food page and we just made silly combinations of food. And we'd been trying to work out what would really work, what wouldn't work. So you tried the big crazy food items, you try the weird combinations. And then we realized, what's the most divisive topic within food? Pineapple on pizza. So we spent a day working a recipe and eventually created this pizza that was purely made of pineapple. The flour was pineapple flour. The sauce was pineapple sauce. It was a pineapple stuffed crust pizza. So we filmed the video, it's going through and we're making it. And obviously, therefore, we're catering to everyone that's like, pineapple should be on pizza. Until you get to the final shot where I go and pick up a slice of this pizza, crash zoom out, bin comes in, pizza goes in the bin. And that way we've kind of got the cheat code, right? You've got both people to be happy. You've got the ones that love it and the ones that hate it. The ones that love it going, this is amazing, pineapple belongs to pizza. The ones that hate it are in the comments going, how dare you call this a pizza and how dare you make this thing? And then at the end, both of their emotions swap over. And I think that reigns true across everything now, where if you are purely creating, and that works for the individual creator, it works for like the biggest issue I see nowadays is corporate executives, business owners going, I need a personal brand, because they've seen Steve Bartlett, they've seen other people with a personal brand, and they just go, we need it. Or like clients going, we need to be on TikTok, and they're a builder's merchants based in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. If you don't have a reason to be there and you don't have content that's actually going to engage with people on that platform, you're already off to a bad start. And then what you end up getting is people creating content for the sake of creating content that actually doesn't drive emotion. Why would I watch your day in the life of you walk into the office, have a cup of tea with Susan, and then sit and answer emails for 3 hours? Like, it bears no impact on me. It doesn't make me think, wow, I'm motivated by this. It doesn't make me feel happy that you've just managed to get to the office, go have a cup of tea. Like, and it's the same across the board. If you're creating anything with emotion, you will do far better.
Do we overcomplicate it though? Because like when you're talking about putting pineapple on a pizza, that simply makes me feel happy or sad. Is that just enough?
Yeah, I mean, your biggest currency is emotion, especially in today's world, in a content space, in that there's 3 possible outcomes realistically: elation, upset, or nothing. And if you think about anything, like I think Justin Bieber's Baby music video, it's one of like the most disliked videos of all time. But for YouTube, and this reigns true, and it was because I went back when I used to do YouTube, there's a lot of my mates that get really upset by having a dislike on a video. But actually, a dislike is an interaction, whereas a no like doesn't register at all. So YouTube will go, the video had 100 likes and 20 dislikes. Well, that's 120 interactions as opposed to just 100 likes. So I think that's the key thing that I always try and aim for. You either try and really piss people off and rage bait them, or you do something that makes them go, this made me laugh, I really enjoyed this, or you drive some sort of positive reaction.
Yeah, it was something I think it was on Diary of a CEO, and I think Grace Andrews shared it as well. A CEO of a company, she was female, and she said that you've got to piss the 80% off to get to the 20% or something. And so even if the content is slightly controversial, if it makes you feel something, then you've got something.
Exactly. Yeah. You just want to make people feel.
But when we're talking about it there, like in a sense of corporate and stuff as well, is that where it becomes, it's a difficult thing to get your head around, because you're trying to build a brand that's got a positive reputation. It's got something good around it. People like Steven Bartlett can almost say anything to piss off majority because they're established and they're in that very creative realm. Do you know what I mean? So what if you're trying to build something else?
You don't have to aim or target the negative side of it. But you need to create stuff that people want to care about and want, and leaves them not feeling the same as when they started it. So like OT Media, and another Cornish film company, they did a beautiful campaign with I believe it's the name I'll get wrong, but it was, I think, the Yellow Boots Foundation or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really simple piece of content, but they just got farmers to call their dads and tell them they loved them. And like, it's the most simple thing, but that campaign has done so well because it shows vulnerability within the people within the content, and it's something that you can connect to because maybe you haven't had those conversations with your family in a while or whatever it may be, but it drives an emotion. It drives a very raw emotion to a lot of people. So you don't always have to go for the negative, because I fully understand, yeah, there's a lot of corporate people that will go, oh, our bank can't do this, or like whatever that may be, but as long as you're driving an emotion.
It just seems hard. I feel like it seems harder when I've been working with clients that are, and I use the word corporate to kind of put these businesses like, you know, banking, financing, insurances or something into a category that's like, we have to follow real strict rules in what we can or can't put out there, that it like diminishes how much you can actually do. So when you're trying to be creative or use emotion as an expression, like for an insurance company, for example, like how do I create content that's meaningful there? Like I know you use the example there of OT Media, and I did see one that I loved. I think it was Lloyd's Bank, and they had big billboards around London, and it was something to do with family or divorce or something. And I was like, that's triggering. But they said it in such a way that it was acceptable, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, this thing that there's always, there are, and no matter what I say in answer to any question today, there will be a caveat, or the ASA will go, oh, well, actually, strictly this, that, the other. I mean, look, you can find a hole in any argument. I think there's, no matter what industry you're in, there are rule books that you do have to play by and abide by. Some, obviously, financial industries, for example, far tighter than others, but there are still ways that you can tell stories. You can client testimonials, anything like that, that bring a human connection to a business. It's great. And the more emotion that you can drive within the content that you're producing, the better. I think creating just we sell insurance isn't kind of going to really put you ahead of anyone else. I mean, Octopus Energy is a really good one. They're always pretty good with their billboards. They're always on the line of probably what they can get away with given the industry they're in. But there's a line you got to tread everywhere. It's just being clever around how you work around that.
I think as well, it's a lot easier to create content maybe with a person in it. We talk so much now about personal branding. I think it's easy to tie an emotion by seeing a facial expression, for example. So you've worked with obviously like Nike, Coca-Cola. Is it Gumball 3000? Am I saying that right? Yeah. So these are all brands or companies that have a product versus a service, correct? So how are you then bringing emotion behind, I don't know, a car video?
I mean, so Gumball's probably not the best example of that. Just given you've got 100 supercars filled with 200 millionaires, billionaires and celebrities driving 7 days across the world, there obviously therefore is a lot of emotion that goes into that content. Yeah. Challenges along the way. I mean, we're very much capturing that. There's not really that's an event. I think with the likes of Converse, Nike, things along those lines and the projects I've done with them, we are, on the most part, capturing the lifestyle that comes with the association of those products.
Yeah, so it's just like indirect selling, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a key, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, like Nokia, for example, when I did a ton of stills around the launch for one of their products, or Subaru, we did a photo shoot to launch a couple of new car models in the Alps, and we didn't have models. But it's painting the picture of what your life could be with that product. So it was having this car up the Alps in the mountains and with a picnic layout next to it. No models. There's no people there, but it makes you feel like you want to be in that setting because it's beautiful, and you're not really paying attention to the fact, oh, it's a Subaru. But equally, it reinforces the fact that when you go in the showroom and you open the brochure or you're looking online, it kind of shows you, oh, this is, I guess, subconsciously where the car can take me.
So is this emotion is the true currency behind content? Is that something you learned from Social Chain with Steven Bartlett, or what was the key takeaway from your time with him?
I think probably, yeah. I mean, there was a lot that I learned over that period. I was young. I was new to, well, it was my first ever job, really. And it was a very different from a traditional office job that I could have probably had. But yeah, I think that was the key thing we're always aiming for, is create emotion, drive emotion. You've got to play off of an emotion. And if you do that, then you're not guaranteed success, but you're in a far better place than if you negate to think about that or contemplate it at all. Yeah, I think emotion is subconsciously something I now think about a lot. I don't really prioritize it as something I massively think about, because I've been doing this, I left Social Chain in 2018. So I've been doing it a decent amount of time since then. And yeah, you just get used to it.
Yeah, I suppose probably a big question that a lot of people, are thinking right now is that it's easy for a brand like Nike, Converse, McDonald's, someone like that to have mastered this emotion feeling because they're well known and established, whereas no one really knows me, so I probably have to try a lot harder.
Indeed. I don't. realistically, there's going to be an age-old issue. If they have billions to spend on marketing and you have hundreds or thousands, you're always on the back foot. But it's relative. It's far easier, I would say, for you to get a new customer at this point, or a new listener or a new viewer, than it would be for, say, a McDonald's or someone like that, because they're so well known already. Incrementally, I reckon the increase percentage-wise would be lower. But yeah, I mean, it is always harder when you don't have that recognition in the first place. But realistically, until you start and you start developing and start trialing things, you'll never know.
Let's list it off. So if I've got a Nike brand in front of me as a pair of shoes, they could quite simply film a pair of shoes, yeah? So what is it they're actually trying to achieve in the way I feel towards converting me from seeing it to buying it?
So with a pair of shoes, it's, I mean, slightly confused by your question there, in honesty.
So if I'm literally looking at a campaign or a billboard now of a pair of shoes, they're trying to think their marketing behind it isn't just I'm going to stick a pair of shoes on a billboard, is it? They're trying to convert me into imagining I'm wearing those shoes.
Realistically, Nike's probably not the best option to use in that regard, because no, because Nike, the industry leader, like Nike can literally post
a pair of shoes and it just be that simple.
Yeah, because everyone wants a pair of Nikes. If you talk about, say, On shoes or Hoka or some of the smaller brands, it's for them. And if you look at a lot of their content, I think it reigns true with this. It's, if you look at it, they're not really focusing on the shoe all that much. Like
Red Bull, they're a good example of that. They never focus on the product.
They never focus on the product. Red Bull's a little bit of a loose one, just because they very much are so far away from the product.
Yeah.
But like, if you look at a Hoka or an On or companies like that, the product's in all the photos. But the emphasis is on what the product lets you do. And if I'm identifying myself as being an ultramarathon runner, which evidently I'm most definitely not, but if I identify as that, and then I see the photos of a marathon runner wearing these trainers, and of course that's going to reinforce within me that this is the shoe for me.
Okay. Anything controversial about Steven Bartlett and your time there? Anything that's like, was it all it was cracked up to be? I remember reading his book, is it 33 Laws of Business or something, the Diary of a CEO one, that was his last one he brought out. And I know that he learned over the years that building great like team ethics, really fun, vibrant teams, having productive teams, or happy teams, yada, 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 was super important. And he had like a slide or something going into the office at one of the places. Like, was it all that wild when you were there, or was it just kicking off?
I mean, I joined probably at the more back end of a lot of the craziness. They kind of brought in investors and things got a little more official. But yeah, I mean, we had slide, ball pit, 2 dogs, a bar. We had nap pods. There was a room that was just a mattress floor with PlayStation, everything. So yeah, it very much was as fun and crazy as I think it was portrayed to be. But also it kind of needed to be, it was a young group of people that worked there that were very new to an industry that also was very new. They were at the forefront of it and were doing incredible things, but equally at the same time, we weren't saving the world. We were creating social media posts for a variety of social media pages. So, yeah, I think there was some fun memories there, some really fun times, and very much enjoyed it.
Does a room with mattresses and PlayStations actually change if you really want to come to work or not? Like deep down, like if you were starting your own business, is that something you'd say really moves the dial to get
I mean, that room
excited?
specifically, no, but we were very well looked after. Like, to an extent, we had unlimited holiday. Now, it was one of them. As long as the work was being done, you could take as much time off as you wanted. If you wanted to come in at 10 o'clock in the morning and leave at 3, again, as long as what you needed to get done was done. But equally, obviously, for career progression, taking that approach sometimes isn't always the best. If you're just doing enough to get by, it's probably not going to be that great for you long term. But no, I mean, it was a phenomenal place to work. I very much enjoyed it. I mean, I had mates. I'd known about social chain long before I started working there, and it was my dream job because I had mates that were managed by them when they did talent management, and I'd seen what the workspace was like. I'd seen what they did, and I'd always dreamed of it. And that was something that was evidently shared by a lot of people in the UK and further afield. I mean, before he had Diary of a CEO, he had a behind the scenes series that followed him with a guy called Dodds filming it. And like, we would frequently have people sending packages with CVs in. There was one guy that I remember flew from Greece in a pink suit and rocked up outside the office and just asked for an interview. So like, the whole company interviewed him. Surprisingly, it didn't go well for him, but if you rock up and demand an interview, it's probably never going to. So yeah, I mean, it was great. I had a wonderful time. It definitely made working in an office enjoyable.
Which I think is so
but it also
helpful.
made the long evenings. I mean, we're working production, so obviously things don't always go well. And there was a few times where you were pulling all-nighters, but to be able to just come in the next day and go, okay, I'm going to go for a nap, or I'm going to go and play on the PlayStation for 2 hours, or I'm going to go play table tennis. It made that far nicer. And you weren't, and I think we weren't judged for doing that either, because I think there's a tendency for a lot of corporate environments to put these distractions in place and then almost judge you for utilizing.
Yeah, I get that. What was your into a place like that? 'Cause you say it was almost your dream job. So obviously they were well established by the time you'd got there. The interview process, or even getting to the interview stage, must have been more difficult. Like, I know Grace Andrews, I don't know if you met her at your time, or she came in Diary CEO, I can't remember, but she already had an online presence.
I mean, mine was a bit of a mix. So I'd known about it. My mates through YouTube were managed by them when they did talent management, which is how I obviously originally found out about them. Followed Steve on Twitter, and I think must have had his notifications on. And during my A-level year, I just 10 o'clock at night one night, I think it was in about February, whilst I was looking at universities and trying to work out what I was going to do, got a tweet come through saying, we're looking for a videographer. Please email this lady called Hannah Anderson. So I found her email, wrote a really badly written email, really bad, and sent it. And then sent her a message on Twitter going, just sent you an email, like, would really love to be involved. So if there's a way that I could come in and show you what I can do, that'd be great.
Love that you applied for a job on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, the funniest part is I sent the email to the wrong email address, so it bounced back.
Oh.
So she then sent me the right email address. Everything was amazing. Happy days. Phoned me a few days later. We had a bit of a chat and said, can you come up to Manchester? And obviously I lived in Cornwall at that time. She said, can you come to Manchester, do a bit of a trial shift? So I fortunately was going to look at a university in Manchester. So I flew up, had a day at this university doing all the interviews and everything for that. And the following day went to Social Chain in the morning, filmed a couple of videos for them, for the food page that I'd be hired onto, edited them. And at the time, they were some of the highest performing videos that page had ever posted. And obviously that did quite well. So they asked me to drop out of my A-levels and go and work for them straight away. I said my parents would hate me if I did that. So finished my A-levels. And then I think the day after my final exam, flew to Manchester with just my suitcase and started work on the Monday.
Do you think in order to be successful, you have to have that drive and ambition to one day completely turn your life upside down and leave? Like, being in a county like Cornwall, that is a big move.
I don't think you necessarily have to have drive or anything to be successful. I think on the most part, you just need to have rich parents. Big, like a lot of my mates from school have kind of achieved success and got these amazing jobs, but they're working for family or parents or that. And I think I was very lucky, and don't get me wrong, I didn't come from a bad family, but I got very lucky that from a very early age, it was kind of instilled in me to, I've always seen my dad and my dad and my mum working hard. And my dad commutes from when we moved to Cornwall. He always commuted every week. So I was used to him going away for work, and that was something that always appealed to me. And like, I started my first company when I was 13, 14. So I'd always kind of, from that point, knew what I wanted. Had been raised to work hard, and I guess, yeah, to a certain point, hard work beats talent. but hard work and talent together can kind of get you even further. So not to say that I'm talented, but I'd like to think I've got something.
You're talented.
Yeah.
How much of it is to do with who you know?
Oh, 99% of it. 100%. I got my start at Social Chain, but from the moment I started Social Chain, I tried to become friendly with people. I tried to make friends wherever I went. And a lot of those contacts continued with me. And well, when I left Social Chain, I went to a mate startup agency. And then I went freelance from there. And when I first went freelance, someone from my Social Chain days reached out and went, I know this estate agent that needs some content. Can you go and film for them? So I went and did some filming for them and became good mates with them and started doing more and more. And they had this creative director called Mark, who then left and went to, where did he go from? I can't remember if he went straight. I believe he went straight to Popeyes, the chicken restaurant chain, and brought us in to do the launch campaign for that. So we did all the stills and the launch campaign for that. And that's how we got introduced to Krispy Kreme and done a ton of stuff for Krispy Kreme over the last few years. So it very much has been just this snowball of not necessarily knowing the right people at the right time, but just leaving everyone or as many people that you come across with as positive an image of you as possible. Because you never know, at some point they might one day reach out and go, I used to work here, but now I work here. And actually that works beautifully.
I think you have to go into these conversations with zero expectations. People class it as networking and they don't make a sale for whatever reason. They then give up on networking because they went in to make money and they didn't. That's not how relationships work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think I've ever once pitched for a job, which is like a beautiful place to be. Obviously, we've done music video treatments and things like that, but for I think 99% of my clients, they've come to me and gone, we'd like to work with you, not the other way around. And I think that's testament to the fact that networking isn't about walking into a room and going, what do you do? Well, I do this, 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 and this. Can I work for you? And if you get nothing out, then you don't feel like you've achieved anything. Like I've never actively tried to network. I've ended up in some really good rooms with great people that I've had good conversations with and tried to just pay interest. And obviously you always joke around and say, oh, well, if there ever is anything, you know where we are, but you don't expect anything from it. And if down the line something does happen, phenomenal. But if not, you've met a cool person, you may have learned something and you move on and continue with life.
What about when you get to a position like you are now where you're super busy, always on the road, and, you know, maybe 5 years ago you would have taken every phone call, you would have said yes to every opportunity. At what point are you in your life now where someone says, can I introduce you to someone? Maybe you look at it and think, I don't know if it's going to be anything. Do you still say yes to that?
Most of the time, yes. I have a real issue with saying no to things. And I think it's the same for anyone, especially when you're in the first few years of business or you're a sole trader. It's always difficult to turn money away because you never know when it might all dry up or when someone might not come back. So I always try and do the best. And unfortunately, with me being away as much as I am, it is often difficult for me to take things on. But I've got such an amazing network of people in the UK and further afield that if something comes to me and they're like, we really need someone to do this and like, you've been recommended, I have so many people that if I can't do it, I will more than happily put someone else forward for it. And that can be their client. Like I know so many people that get super competitive about things, which is great. I can understand it. But at the same time, I've got to where I am by just being me and being as open book about things as I can and by trying to help other people out and they help me out in return and the world continues turning.
How much do you think people buy into you versus your talent?
Probably a lot, because if it was just talent alone, I would not be where I am today. No, I think there's a balance. I think this year has definitely actually proven to me through some conversations with certain clients that they really weren't sure whether I'd work out. And I think that's probably more for my personality, because I know I can be a little bit full on and probably a little bit jokey and unserious at times. But I think I think my personality, who I am, my vision and my talent match up and work quite well together. Obviously not for everyone. We're all different. We all have different tastes, and there's definitely people that are better than me at some things. But I found my niche. I found what I'm good at. I found where I'm good at doing it, and I'm just going to keep going here and see where it can take me, really.
That's interesting. You brought in the N word of niche there, because how important have you found it to have a niche in videography? So do you work specifically in certain industries? Are you open to any type of work? Like, how is it a detriment if you don't have a niche, I should say?
I wouldn't say so, no, because I wouldn't necessarily say I have a massive niche. Like I tend, if you look at my client list and the work that we tend to, the clients we tend to work with, it's very much industry leaders within their existing kind of fields. I know so many people that just shoot cars or just shoot food or just shoot music. I shoot anything, and probably my only niche is if it comes with an invoice attached. Like, I don't really care. And I think sometimes having a niche is a detriment because you're exclusively therefore shooting one thing, and you get very good at shooting that one thing, but you at some point will stop trying new things because you kind of get the routine. Like wedding photographers, I think, are really bad for it. I got a lot of mates that are wedding photographers. I would maybe say this to their face, don't know. But like, if you look at wedding photographers, it's very much every photo from every wedding is the exact same. It's the same edit. They don't try anything new. They don't try anything different. And I think until someone else comes in and goes, oh, well, I've shot this way, and then they'll go, oh, I need to quickly change it and get with a new trend. Whereas I think if you're constantly shooting different things, you will try something for a car brand and then realize that actually you can do that with a Krispy Kreme donut or whatever it may be. It translates really nicely, and there is a evolution and a constant one because you're constantly having to fight different fires rather than just existing in the same space.
I actually spoke about this the other day because it's like poor old Daniel Radcliffe, who is now Harry Potter and is mostly only seen as Harry Potter. So it's like being a wedding photographer, you're just seen as a wedding photographer. I think the conversation around finding a niche or having a niche is just an awkward one because you don't want to box yourself, but you also want to be understood by anyone or anything, your clear message of who you are and what you do. And if you are someone that's like, I'm a one-stop shop, I'll take anyone, let's throw spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks. Do you even know who you're targeting or what your mission is from that?
No, but potentially you don't need to either. I mean, I'm very much a firm believer of like, because I've not pitched for stuff, because I'm not outgoing and having to go, I need this and this, people are coming to us and looking at the client list and okay, it would be slightly different if I had kind of Phil and Pam's Bakery and Sandra's Cafe and like that and like Tony's Autos on the client list, because then you might go, okay, there's, I don't know, I feel like the logos, the client names bring a lot of weight. But equally, I don't think necessarily I need to have a mission or I need to have this or that, because I'm a service provider for businesses. I'm not trying to go out and change the world with a product that I'm creating. I'm trying to help others do that and achieve that. So if you look at my website, I think the headline is, actually, I'm going to do it verbatim because I don't want to get this wrong. Yeah, my website is, we cut the crap and keep it simple. Like, I think there's this want and desire to create these stories to try and sell it. And I see so many other agencies and companies that go on and on about their innovative creativity and their packages and this and that and this and that. And they throw so much jargon at you that you don't really understand what you're reading. I mean, you may as well just have written it in ChatGPT because it goes on for hours. You don't actually get an answer of who they are, what they do. And if they can't give you a quick, straight to the point answer on who are they and what do they do, how on earth do you think that they're going to tell the story of who you are and what you do in a short and succinct manner that works?
I think we overcomplicate it. I always say to people, you know, if you're in a networking room or you're pitching yourself to people, just say one sentence that is clear as day. Even your mum understands what you do. Or if you're putting something out online, if someone scroll past your page, they're an alien. They have no clue who you are, what you do. Like, it's just a quick message to say, this is it on a plate, like it or lump it. When you've said about not having to pitch yourself, I'm just curious as to, obviously a big part of that is networking, the relationships you've built. But if someone's listening now and thinking, gosh, that would be the dream. I don't want to ever pitch myself. I want to get to that point.
It's not the dream. It really is not the dream.
Really?
I'd like to riff on that. Look, it's great in that it saves me a lot of hassle. It saves me having to go out and find all these clients. And I probably wouldn't, if I was pitching, be able to get the clients that I've worked with. But equally, by not pitching, I'm not getting the creative freedom, because I'm not going to a client and going, I have this idea, let's try and make this work. Or I have this treatment, I think it could be really cool for this. I'm existing in this small fracture between large full-scale advertising and the really small social media posts that they don't really care about. So they're coming to me with an issue that I'm solving, but I'm relying on them to come to me. So it's great that they come to me originally and I don't have to go out and pitch, but who's to guarantee they come back? Who's to guarantee that the person that brought me in doesn't actually leave next year and suddenly my biggest client no longer is going to work with me? And where does the money come from now? Because I haven't been pitching and I don't have the pipeline in place because I've not been trying to pitch for the last 2 years because I haven't needed to. So like there's so many sides to that as amazing as it can sound in one instance, if you take the flip side of it, and I think it's probably highly irresponsible of me not to be going out and pitching and trying to win other business outside of referrals and word of mouth, because it could all come crashing down tomorrow. So I think there's a balance to be found.
Yeah, I found that. I found that, I said to you before, and I put all my eggs in someone's basket, and even when you're employed, you're not safe. Someone could let you go tomorrow. I think it's nice to hear from you about, like, is this half glass full mentality, isn't it? Like, because a lot of people would think, like I said, you're living the dream. You don't have to pitch to anyone. Wow, I want that. But for you to be able to see it from their side and be able to say, no, actually there's a benefit in you pitching and growing and actually having your foot forward with a lot of this, I think that's like massive to hear. Is there things that are like your non-negotiables now, though, if you don't have time to pitch, or even if you are pitching? Is your website, is your online presence, is it constantly catching up with people via WhatsApp or messages? Or do you know what I mean? What are the things that you were like, if I started all again tomorrow, like I would have to do this again and again because it's been a benefit whether I've pitched or not?
Just be a nice person.
Simple as that.
Like, I genuinely think it's just go out of your way to help other people. If people are asking you for advice, give it to them. If someone doesn't have budget, but you've got time and you've got nothing else on, go and help them. Like, do what you can to help others, and eventually that will come around to help you.
Let's talk a little bit now about this gut feeling, because I think it drives a lot of the decisions and the love, kindness, how nice we are, what it gives to people. It's having a gut feeling of, if is this worth it? Should I do it? Should I not? But when you're someone that's torn between a gut feeling and the data, where the analytics are telling you something else, how do you make a decision?
I mean, it's an age-old issue. I think there's balance to be found at times, because I think a lot of people if you look at socials, for example, and use that, I think a lot of companies will fall into one of two boats. They are creating content aimlessly to try and get followers to appear like they are a more established business than they are, or in fact they are an established business but they're super old school and they're just trying to get on socials and they don't really know why, but some overpaid marketing executive that they brought in or some external marketing firm has gone, we really need to be on socials, without any consideration of to why they're on that channel or what value that brings to them. They're just being told you need to be there. But then you also have companies that are massively present on social media, and therefore have these large teams of people running them who analyze every single decision. And sometimes analyzing everything isn't always the best, because you end up in a solution where you are posting purely for a algorithm and purely for these things that are constantly changing, but also don't always better the brand. Because if you look at Instagram and TikTok, for example, at the minute, the majority of the stuff that's actually doing well on there is mobile phone content that feels raw and feels natural. But it's not a massive brand building kind of piece. Like for some clients, so for some of the race stuff, it's having a healthy mix where sometimes actually you do just need to do something that's really sick and create a really cool polished video that won't perform as well as you'd hope, but is a really nice piece for brand, for sponsors. And it's getting out of this headspace of everything we have to do. Everything we do has to lead to likes, comments, engagement, and tangible metrics. Sometimes it's okay to just focus on, let's create something beautiful that is still an emotion driving piece of content for those that see it, but isn't necessarily what's doing well within the algorithms or what's perfect for that channel.
When you said that you'll have some people that just say we need to be online, but without knowing why, do you think that everyone should be creating content in 2025? That's a business.
Well, okay, knows the quick answer. I think yes, depending upon business and appropriate channels.
Would we say the majority of brands and businesses are actually online these days and therefore
majority are, and there's definitely benefits to it, even for like internal content training pieces. Like I probably hastily said no. I think that's my reaction when I have a lot of clients saying, and it was like a few years ago when TikTok really became a thing, my instant reply was no until people actually sit down, think about it, and try and work out the value. Because I'd like the worst case scenario is you have people going, you need to be online, you need to be creating content. So they go, oh, we need to be creating content. And then like they do a really terrible job and they get burnt in the process, and then they've not done it right. They don't see the response they want, and it invariably never gets kind of really looked at. So I think the best answer is always no to start with, and then ask yourself why you want to be creating content, what channels are appropriate for doing so, and how best to go about that.
I think I saw something like there's a third of the world or something now that's on Instagram, and obviously it's becoming harder and harder and harder to capture someone's attention through the content you create. And obviously this emotion piece is top tier, totally agree. But I actually read again the other day when I was deep diving into Instagram and Reels and TikToks, and it's like the first 1.5 to 3 seconds is all you have to capture someone's attention with a piece of content.
I wouldn't even say that. Like if you look at the speed you scroll through TikTok.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought. But then I'm trying to think what stops me. I'm trying to be more present because it's what I do day to day. So I'm doing that for others. But
this is also why I think no is part of my answer to your question, because companies will be spending so much money. Like if you think of main Khan, that asphalt and like terminology for what they do, but they do all the paving and all that stuff. Cornish supply. What do they need social media for? Like realistically, they are they're a construction company that is selling aggregates to builders and other construction companies across the UK, realistically, they need a good sales department that know the major construction companies, suppliers, and then that's it. Like, I'm sure they could get on social media and do what Daniel Ashfield's done and start creating content about going to the yard and the projects they're doing, and invariably get some more work out of it. But if you're a small family business that's existing in one place, I wouldn't say massively social media is going to be your best bet, because you're like, with all of them, as you said, there's such a vast majority of the population of the world on them, that realistically, if you're running a little bakery in the middle of nowhere in Cornwall, okay, yeah, you might get a little bit out of it, but realistically, your best option is to let other people create content for you. Create a really good product, focus your efforts on the product, the environment in which consumers are enjoying that product. And eventually some travel influencer from London is going to go, oh my God, I just found the most amazing bakery. And like, that will blow up, and it will do far better than anything you'll have ever done. And you're not wasting hours and hours of time, because it takes a lot of time. It's not an easy thing to do. If you don't do it personally, it costs a lot of money. And I don't think it's always as necessary as people think it is.
It comes back to that piece you said on, you have to work out your why. Like, why are you doing it? What about for people that are online and they want some of that those eyes, they want that attention, that they're desperately craving your attention, yours and my attention, anyone's attention. And so they think my best bet is to jump on the trends and to do what the algorithm tells me.
I mean, it works. Like, it does work. It got proven on Gumball last week. That super thin video trend that was going around.
Yeah.
I spent 30 seconds making one of those videos, and it did a couple 100,000 views, and it was like far outperforming everything else that we made on that rally and spent hours editing. So like, it does work. I think the trends the trends that I'm seeing are far more complex, just because the trends I'm seeing are photographers' ones, but if the ideal will be that you're at the start of the trend, if you're latching on. And I think that's a common issue with a lot of businesses, especially trying to jump on trends. By the time that the social media team have seen it, they've taken it to their manager, and then the manager's waited for the weekly meeting to run it past their manager, and then they get the go ahead, and then they actually get it made, and then that's got to get approved. It comes out 3 weeks after without the trending audio, because they're a business account, so they can't use the trending audio. And like, you've missed the boat by that point.
There's two buckets, isn't there? There's the people that jump on the hype, jump in the bandwagon, and they're trends. And I think it does work. I love Mercedes-Benz. Lately, I don't know if you've seen him on TikTok. They've got some guy there in one of their shops up country, and he's like baddie in a Benz. So he's trying to appeal to, the female market for Mercedes. And then you've got the other side, the people that are going to absolutely boycott everything everyone else does, and disrupt their own market. What's been a risk yourself when it comes to content or working with a brand that you've been like, right, this is not what everyone else thinks that we should do, but I reckon this could be a game changer?
There is a specific F1 race team that I work with that have a reserve driver who's fairly not bland sense of humor, like just very dry sense of humor. And I'm working with that team through another agency that I my mate Zone and I subcontract through, called 8 Seconds. And we got kind of basically brought in to create these really slick, really nice content for socials and really take it up a notch. And in Suzuka, I saw a nice roller coaster at the racetrack, and I somehow managed to convince the team that it was a good idea for me to put a 360 camera on the forehead of this driver and then do everything within my power to make him look ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like I still to this day, and there's been so many other examples with the team of things that I've suggested that should probably not have been said yes to, but they did. And we actually then create something really special with it. And I think that's the thing. I think some companies get really protective over everything. that their feed is going to be doing. And realistically, if it doesn't work out, you can just delete it.
This is true. There's
It will
another.
stay online forever because
Well, yes.
someone will have downloaded it, but you can delete it off your profile.
I have so many more questions for you still, and I'm just conscious of time and, you know, rambling away. I wonder, like we've name dropped a few times, we've spoken about you not having to pitch anymore. You're young and you're vibrant and you're heading off to America tomorrow. You've got Mexico coming up. You're consistently living on a plane. From the outside, there'll be people that look like it looks like you've made it. Does it feel that way?
No, yes, no, yes, maybe. I think you always want what you can't have. And I get it a lot with the travel side of things. I mean, last week I think it was like 10 or 11 countries in 7 days. Now that sounds phenomenal. It was like, wow, that must be great. Oh, I'd love a holiday myself. Like, it's not a holiday. When I went to Japan at the start, so at the start of the year, I did Australia, China, Japan, the races. I got one day in Australia where I wasn't working. And that was the day after I landed, and I had some work that I needed to do, but I wasn't strictly meant to be working. The rest of the time, from 8 a.m. through till 10 p.m., I was at the racetrack. And then I came home and I saw a 7-Eleven or I saw a burger restaurant, and then I saw the hotel, and then the same again. And then I flew to China and had the same experience. And then I come home for 4 days and then fly all the way back to Japan. And I saw literally the airport, a restaurant, the Lawsons, and my hotel. Like, it's not, and that reigns true. At the trip last week, I saw a little bit of Istanbul, the motorway from Istanbul to the Serbian border, I think, or Romanian border, Bulgarian border. I then saw the road from the Bulgarian border to the Romanian border. And then I saw Bucharest for 3 hours. And then I saw Serbia the following day. Like, I'm just seeing the road. Like, it's not, I'm going and sitting on a beach or I'm going and exploring the town. It's very much, I'm doing the same as what everyone else is doing. There's just a plane ride there instead of the tube. Which actually, I think, arguably makes it worse, because my idea of a holiday now is sitting at home doing absolutely nothing, because I spend every week in a hotel. I spend most weeks on planes. The appeal of going to the airport and checking in and that giddy feeling you get, 'cause you're like, oh, I'm going on holiday. Like, it's going to be nice. I'm going to have a beer and enjoy this Ryanair flight to Magaluf. Like, it just isn't that anymore. But don't get me wrong. It sounds super ungrateful. I love what I do. I'm so fortunate to do what I do. I have friends now all over the world. So no matter where I go, I can phone someone, and I know people that will come and I can go and see them, or I've got places to stay. I've got restaurants that I can go and eat in. Like, it's an amazing position to be in, but it's not at the sacrifice of everything else in my life.
We shouldn't feel guilty for, I say it so much, like, we shouldn't feel guilty for what seems to be like someone else's version of success. Sometimes doesn't, do you know what I mean? Like, someone could be listening and thinking that's everything I want and more. And there could be some people listening that's thinking, I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah.
You know, like, I wonder what do you miss? What are some of, like, the home comforts, that just the most simple things that you miss now?
Being able to do a food shop. I've been home for 3 days. No, there's no point. There's no point me going to the shops and buying food to cook for myself, because I'll buy enough for 2 meals. But by the time I've done that, there's stuff spare. And then I go away again for 2 weeks. So it all ends up going to waste. Having a consistent friend group, it's great having friends all around the world, but what happens when you're home? Because you're not there enough or frequently enough to really build a circle around you. Relationships become difficult. Just every day-to-day life becomes tricky. Trying to work out when you're going to do a clothes wash, that becomes tricky. Like, my wardrobe, all of my clothes purely exist on convenience for a suitcase.
Living out of a suitcase is hard work.
It is, but like, my suitcase doesn't get unpacked. It literally, I come home, it gets emptied by the washing machine, it goes in the washing machine, gets folded and goes straight back into the suitcase. And that's pretty much all my wardrobe consists of. Like it's the same, it's the simplest. You find a way to simplify life down to a point of convenience. But I wouldn't change it for anything.
You need a home-cooked roast.
Yeah. Christmas will be a wonderful time, but there's a lot to do before then.
Right, let's round up. Let me ask you my final question. I want to know, it's something I want to start doing around here on this podcast, is something to leave people with so they have something from your episode to the next guest episode to be working on. So if you could leave someone with something, creative, a content test, a mindset shift, a framework, a podcast, a book, anything that they can try out this week, what would it be?
If it's books, I'd recommend The Fifth Vital. It's a really interesting book written by someone who is now a creator, but actually following their challenges with drug addiction. Very good book, very good read that I recently read. Content test wise or creative test wise, I just start shooting things. Take your phone out, try and see the world in a different light, and just try and capture something beautiful.
Amazing. Thanks, Matt, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
No worries. Cheers for having me.
Great to see you. Thank you for joining me for your Sunday reflection, ready for your Monday reset. So your challenge tomorrow, or your action, is to go out and take Matt's advice and just do. Just start now. Do something that you've been dreaming of or longing for. I think a lot of us wish that we could just have success now. It's like that prime example of someone giving you a holiday over and over and over again. You lose that excitement and that fulfillment in longing and wanting and dreaming and doing. You would miss that rush and that build-up of being excited about that holiday. And this is why a lot of successful people with money say that it's not all it's cracked up to be. So start now, enjoy the process, and have something to look back on to see how far you've come on this journey. I'm Meg, and I'll catch you next week for a brand new episode of The Sunday Suite.